If you try to use that technology in the U.S., you could take down a commercial airliner.
Drone sightings.
Various drone sightings.
Drones. Reports of mysterious drones.
These are not dangerous. These are all legitimate flights.
There's one here and there's one there.
An alarming drone incident.
Drones.
Drone mysteries. Drone sightings.
We don't see anything that indicates a national security or public safety threat.
Hey!
I'm Will. Welcome back to Suburban Response. I'm here with Zach today. We're getting together over Zoom so we can have a little conversation. We want to talk about drones. They're everywhere I look these days. It's all over the news. It's all over social media. And, you know, it's something that we're thinking about. So we thought we'd have a conversation with you guys.
I think it's high time that we start talking about drones. What is happening right now? And why is everybody so excited about it?
So, Zach, you are, if I'm not mistaken, you're a licensed FAA drone pilot, correct?
That's true. Part 107 certified. That's right. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. What does that include? What do you do with that?
You know, the process is way more involved than you would think. I think what they're trying to do when they made this test is they want you to feel like you will walk away from this appreciating what real pilots have to learn and know. Because as a drone pilot, it's a lot of stuff you're never ever going to practically apply. Now, there's a lot of course, a lot of basic things that you really need to know so that you're being safe and that sort of thing. But it's a pretty tough test, or at least it was when I first took it. Now they've relaxed a lot of the rules, like coming in person, that sort of thing, to renew your license. That's changed since the pandemic kept a lot of people home. But it's true, there are a lot more drones in the sky.
What's going on with these drones that we're hearing about? I mean,
well, so in my experience, like I've seen odd things in the sky.
We live in North Carolina.
We do.
We're in the South. We're not too far from Fort Bragg.
Yeah, but, formerly Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty.
It's still Fort Bragg in my heart. It forever will be Fort Bragg.
It really is. So down there, I mean, this is the place where they invented the skyhook. And if anybody in pop culture remembers where the skyhook was popularized, it was on The Dark Knight, where Batman was in China and he gets pulled out of the building with the guy that he's like kidnapping and bringing back to the United States.
That was great.
But that's where a lot of crazy stuff goes down. Now, I've seen the movies, right? I think Eye in the Sky might have been one of them, or I don't remember what the other one was that I was watching, where they showed it looked like a bug drone that was.
Oh yeah.
So like the technology's out there, it exists obviously. And this one time when I was down there, I was walking around, I was setting up the camera on the tripod, getting out of the Jeep and that sort of thing, and I stepped back with, I swear, all my weight onto my back right heel, okay, on what I thought felt like something a little smaller than a golf ball. But like, I'm talking full, like 180 pounds, just back of my heel, weight rocked right onto this thing. And I was like, oh, what is that? And it was immediately buzzing. And it was just buzzing. It was making a really weird noise. It was like, that's my best impression I can possibly give you. And I could see it like rolling around. And I was like, my brain couldn't like connect the dots, what I was looking at. And it didn't make sense. I figured it was a bug, something like that.
Okay.
But I put my full body weight onto this thing.
Like not intentionally, you just step back on it, right?
Yeah, just like accidentally. And this thing's like rolling around, almost like it was ball shaped with maybe wings or something. But then suddenly it flies off.
Was Harry Potter anywhere nearby?
To tell you the truth, as weird as it sounds, it looked like a snitch, but it had like dark greens and blacks, like more like cicada kind of color to it. And I thought, okay, cicadas are around. But to put my full weight on it, like bugs are not that strong.
That would crush a cicada.
And I've never heard anything sound like that. And to have that kind of weight and then fly off, no problem. It made me think, okay, maybe because it was coming from a news station down by the
base there. Yeah.
Maybe someone decided, oh, let's check out and see what they're observing down here, So maybe something's following me. That's what I like.
You have no clue what this really was, but it really got you thinking about drones.
No idea. But now, I mean, I'm thinking about that sort of thing. Another thing I did see in my backyard right here. I wasn't in the backyard, but from the backyard, in bright, full daylight, nice white puffy clouds with blue skies. I saw a black dot, like a circle, about roughly, I don't know, consumer drone size, but it was circular and it was moving like this fast, way high, like way higher than normal. And once you get like a consumer level drone up that high, or even, I mean, there's some drones like that was not moving just 70 miles an hour. This thing was moving really fast and it was gone over the horizon. It was below the clouds. It was well below where airplanes would be flying. And it was just black, odd form that was just moving, no sound, really fast, and disappeared over the horizon. And I was like, what kind of drone was that? Like, it definitely was drone size, right? Not something could be manned. But we are hearing about things. People are saying that they're seeing a lot more drones. There's reports of, what have we heard so far? The size.
Yep.
What
lights,
else?
no lights.
Lights, maybe no lights. There's footage that I've seen where it's got the, FAA green, red blinking, some other blinking lights, and even one that I saw had a spotlight shining horizontally out into the clouds. And I don't know. I've also seen some that looked significantly bigger than others that I've seen. We've heard, since the beginning, New Jersey, we're hearing about them in California, Oregon. There was a UAP, they called a UFO sighting, that sort of thing. But even in North Carolina here. And so I'm just going to show you this little clip example right here.
Yeah, let's take a look.
What we got.
These things are all over the Triangle area of North Carolina. I have noticed them since at least March, and it's every single night. And it used to be just like one or two, but now in the last 2 weeks especially, anytime I look up the sky, I can see at least like 15 of them.
All right, so people are reporting that sort of thing. And before the whole drone excitement got out there, my family was out for a little walk in the neighborhood, and we saw planes going, leaving trails in the night sky, nice clear look. And we saw something a little odd, and I meant to ask about it, just like in my circles, to say, hey, what might have this been? But now I don't want to bring it up because everyone's just gonna say, oh, it's the drones, right?
Right.
But I did want like a serious explanation for this, because it looked like a plane, normal plane lights in the dark sky, and directly behind it was something with similar lights, but a little bit less amount of lights. Maybe if the one in front had 4, this one had only 3, and it was following really close. Like, if they were full-size planes, this was another plane just 3 or 4 plane lengths behind it. Like, really,
right
really
on
close.
its heels, basically.
It really looked like it was dragging something up there. But it didn't look like it was connected. They looked like 2 things that were moving with each other at plane height. And since then, we saw several other planes very far separate from each other, like you normally would see.
Right.
Circling around that side, we're, in that path where you would normally see planes all going in the right direction, that sort of thing. But there's some things that are hard to describe. Now, a lot of things, I get it. Like, I can see why people claim that these are abnormal, but I think a lot of them are just planes, they do look like planes from a lot of the footage that we've seen. However,
go ahead.
I was going to say, however, there's some that are a little abnormal, some that have movement that don't seem to move like planes do, and some that, have some odd lights.
Yeah, I think things like this start getting reported and everybody starts looking up at the sky and we see things that maybe we haven't noticed before. And I agree with you. I think some of these are probably just aircraft that we haven't noticed before. I think sometimes I'm not a professional on this, so I might look at something and it looks like I don't know what it's doing, but it might be perfectly normal.
Sure.
So I think we definitely have cases of those that are being reported. But to your point, I think we've got some strange things going on. Certainly, like you and I watched the video of the pilots over Oregon that saw the UAP there.
Yeah.
I got no idea what to say about that one. We're seeing some of the stuff coming out of Jersey and New York area, and that looks a little suspicious to me.
There are some suspicious, odd things. Let's go over to this one right here. This is the Oregon light flight. That saw something in the air, and this is their full recording, 13 minutes. I sent this to another friend of mine who's just all about keeping your eyes on the sky, and he loved this. So check this out.
at some interesting looking lights out there. Not satellites, but maybe aircraft.
That is such a good one because he's describing a couple of just odd behaviors, right? Like he's not describing something that has multiple lights. He's not calling it a drone. Tim doesn't look like a drone. It's not behaving like a drone. He said it was moving in a corkscrew pattern downward. He said that it was a red sphere. There were other white lights that look like spheres. And he said that the red one would go out to the ocean and like disappear over the horizon and then come back. This is like and he said the speeds were like indescribable, right? So this is another example of the classic, this is the sort of thing while the drones are going on, they're going to get everybody thinking like, the thought had to cross my mind. Okay, so are we flying a bunch of drones to create a distraction because somehow the government knew that there was going to be scheduled some UAP air incursions? I don't know. But the sort of things that we have seen are odd enough that people have come out to discuss it, and there have been the detractors, and I did want to share one of those over here. So check this one out. This is a little on the odd side here to me. Oh, there, I'm gonna show you that one in a sec. Check this out.
Drone pilot and founder of Gargoyle Systems, Mike Freyetta. Mike, I appreciate you making this time.
Okay, so this guy is like me, right? FAA drone pilot.
Yep.
I don't know why he's necessarily credible enough to get on News Nation, whereas, they didn't reach out to me necessarily. But he's a drone pilot. Great. And we've heard from a couple of these guys on the news because we just want to hear a couple of things. A couple of things that they don't go over is like height, weight, or weight requirements, that sort of thing. But there are some basic things that they miss out on. But this guy says some weird stuff.
Curious, what are your initial thoughts on these sightings, and do you think they're military or commercial grade, and why?
Well, initially, I think it's really important to ask the question, is this a friend or foe drone? In this case, my gut says these are friendly drones. We've seen NOTAMs, which are short for notice to air missions, that were got out on November 25th, December 4th, when these sightings started. These are listed publicly as confidential flights coming from around McGuire Air Force Base, which is located in central New Jersey. Now, if you think about drone usage, right, there's a lot of...
Now, that's not like the end of the story right there. Like NOTAMs, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the skies. And what's odd about this is the way they're being described, that sort of thing. But he goes on to say some really sus description right here. So check him out again.
I have seen very little evidence that these aren't. You see the red and green lights. Those are commercial piloted aircraft that have been there. I think a lot of people haven't been looking up for the last couple of years. So it seems like, all right, now it's time to look up and see that. But also where everyone's dusting off their drones. There was great Black Friday deals a couple weeks ago on drones.
Yeah, but 50 of them? But 50 of them?
Yeah, so that's where it got really weird.
But car-sized drones, I don't think anyone's buying those.
Like Black Friday. Yeah, he's using Black Friday as the excuse there. I don't know where this guy comes from. He does a really weird thing at the very end of the video as well that I want to show you right here as he's wrapping it up. Just to show some, I don't know what was going on with this interview, but it's kind of odd.
Over our power grid, our power stations, we're seeing robberies nonstop. Yep, sorry, good.
Oh, okay. Well, Mike Freyetta, I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you can watch News Nation.
Okay, so he cuts himself off, which never ever happens. And so something was signaling him. He also started at the very end there, you could hear he's talking about how there's concerns with the grids, with robberies, he goes in a different direction. So this is a really poor interview overall. But the big takeaway is that this guy wasn't super duper credible. And so I'm not buying the kind of professionals they brought on to discuss some things. One thing I do want to mention here is someone that has generally been credible is this guy. Chris Lado from the Lado Files. He was one of the biggest commentary. He's a F-16 pilot. Biggest commentators on the UAP sightings that were popping up. New York Times back in the day here. So check out a couple of things he talks about here.
Mysterious swarms over New Jersey to unauthorized drones hovering over Langley Air Force Base and European military bases, including Ramstein. the skies are buzzing with drones. This is a global.
So he talks about how it's a global thing. There's been reports from other people on News Nation who are really, really into it. For example, people talking about not just the stuff in Oregon and San Diego. There were sightings there that were really similar to what the pilots saw in Oregon, but stuff like happening in China, Russia, I think New Zealand, Australia, maybe even Greenland was mentioned, something like that. But there's a lot of weird stuff, and I don't know if I'm buying the excuses. When you think about how the White House addressed things, Kirby's responses were just so poor. Everyone felt like we were just being gaslit, and it really made us feel like we were being treated like we're stupid, like it felt all the year 2024, like you don't have to see this, you don't need to know this, like all this stuff that just felt so hidden. And I don't know if this points necessarily to one thing in particular. I know there's the concern that a shipping container showed up empty and damaged, and it had nuclear something or other in it. The stuff that gets kind of leaked out there, I don't know if I'm buying that either.
Well, can I be honest? Like, out of everything I've heard so far, aliens, foreign entities, foreign states acting, or possible missing radioactive material. If I were a betting man, I'd probably put my money on the missing radioactive material, because that makes a lot of sense in a scenario where they don't want to tell the public what's going on. All the news stations seem to have a very similar message they're putting out there, and we're trying to get our hands on things before anything bad happens. So I don't know, like, that one's a little plausible to me. I'm hoping it's not the case, but I could see that being the case.
Yeah. What's also odd and interesting to point out here real quick is one of the last things I'll mention. Even though, there's a lot of rumors going around, people worried that these are holographic projections and they're getting ready for some fake invasion, like the Project Blue Book, or not Project Blue Beam. Project Blue Beam, right? Blue Book was the Alan Hynek thing back in the 60s and so on. But anyway, there's a lot of concerns that get people really riled up. Our president-elect said, he just wants to, he thinks there's something going on. He thinks that the government knows. Obviously, the government has the power to know these things. Military is really, really good with surveillance and that sort of thing. There's no way that these aren't able to be tracked. Stuff that we heard about, like 50 of them coming over the ocean, or 12 of them chasing a Coast Guard vessel. Like there's been some odd things that haven't added up. There's also been some examples of footage that show kind of like an odd, like spinning wheel circle thing going on. Really, really odd things kind of mixed into this. One thing I did want to point out is the fact that over here, this is from 1 year ago. These people were talking about this happening in a very similar situation just over their neighborhood. I'm not going to show the whole thing, but this is a really good story right here.
What are they, and who's flying them?
That's what one family in Washington County, Maryland wants to know. They say these mysterious drones are flying over their homes almost every night, all night long.
Yeah, so we had to send our Casey Nolan to investigate the mystery in the sky over Woodsboro neighborhood.
So this one, just in quick summary, they were seeing these things out in the sky, and the night that the investigators came over to record the sky, see if they catch anything, there was a really low flying aircraft carrier, a big cargo plane rather, and it was circling. Yeah, not the aircraft carrier. That would have been really weird. But the big plane circling really abnormally low, and they could see on the map and radar that this was a military ship that was scheduled over there, and it circled the place up until 4 a.m. that night, and then went way back 100 miles back to its base. So anyway, this has been just like an example of like other weird stuff that we see, like the drones that the father of the family in this video claims to have kind of tracked just himself where the drones are landing from, and it's government owned property. So I mean, I don't know, there could be a lot of things that we're not telling people, but I guess the big question is, why wouldn't we tell people?
Yeah, I mean, the government's done it before. I mean, I know there are secrets I keep from my kids if you want to bring it down to a more micro level. I don't always tell them everything that's going on because they don't need to know for whatever reason it is. So
even if we don't know, right, like to have us get prepared, to be ready for anything, to be ready to move, exit the house if need be, you never know what's coming around the
Well,
corner.
yeah. So, like, what are some things we could be doing right now? Like, I think it's good to take a posture of like, let's wait and see. I don't think we need to be in panic mode. I don't think we need to be running anywhere. If I were in Jersey, I might be a little more inclined to upping my game. But sitting here in North Carolina, I feel like I got some time. I can watch and see. But what could we be doing right now?
If there is an escape route that you can plan, if there is a bug out bag that you have there, a place to go.
Yeah.
That's your number one. If things are entering your environment, and if they were to be hostile, or if they were to be a danger to you, if they were to signal some sort of danger that's in the area, for example, if there is something nuclear that got floated around like the rumor has been going around, then you'd want to kind of be ready and aware, ready to go. There are some testing devices to see if there's any radiation in the area. They're not too expensive nowadays. That may or may not be an option for you,
depending on where you're at in your preps. If you got a little extra money and you're good on a lot of other areas, that would be a fun thing to pick up. One thought I'd had was, if you don't have potassium iodide, that might be a good thing to pick up. You can get a bottle of that for under $10 and just have that handy, that if there was a radiological event anywhere near you, you can start taking that.
Definitely. Yep. Protect the thyroid, right? The other thing is, it's good to have your own drone. It's good to have a good camera, set of binoculars, even night vision, to be able to capture something, prove something. If you're seeing something happening in your neighborhood, just to be able to get the word out and say, hey, neighbors, this is what I'm seeing. This is not normal. This must mean something's going on. We can either push it to the press, we can ask local law enforcement to assist with A, B, or C. But one thing I did want to mention is that it's really cool to recognize this. Popped up on the I think the Sean Ryan show that you shared with me recently, which we'll go about another time. But they talked about how down in Florida, there is sort of a Florida National Guard that's been put in place there by their governor, that is a little bit more ready than other places maybe. So if the federal government is something that is, maybe it's delayed or occupied with something else, the local government has a lot more power to be able to react and respond to national emergencies, local emergencies, and that sort of thing. And so I was thinking, what if in this similar situation there was a governor, a secretary of state, somebody that was pushing for something like having, drone response department, right? If there were to be something that would happen, how ready are we locally for that? And, you personally, it's going to be where you're going to be able to do your most effective preparations. But I think there's a lot of stuff that we could do locally, city-wise, community, neighborhood, and out from there, right?
Yeah. Maybe we should make friends with a police officer too, and see if they've got any answers to things like that. That'd be an interesting conversation to have.
Great question to have. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. This has been Suburban Response. I'm Zach. This is Will. And we have enjoyed discussing this with you. If you do have any questions or comments, any ideas about this, any other videos to share, please comment below.
Give it a chance.